Hi, my name is Bradley Kistner. I am going over my research proposal that I was able to conduct. So I'm going to hop right into. Some background and context to the standardized testing in education. This PowerPoint aims to explore how standardized testing and creative learning can be butt heads, and we'll learn how important standardized testing is for student achievement and the system success, and how important it is to have that in system to achieve educational success. While acknowledging the importance of testing, there is a relevance of creative teaching practices that go beyond standardized testing that enable ways to be successful and have successful learning outcomes. In my research, educators must balance between standardized tests with unique teaching practices and that foster critical thinking skills. Um, my research centers around a fundamental question. How does standardized testing impact instructors' capacity to innovate and employ original teaching strategies? So this goes to question the pros, disadvantages, and possibilities of standardized testing in education, and also how standardized testing can cause curriculum alignment issues and time restrictions, and can enable creative innovation in the classroom. So going to the hypothesis, um, the research is guided by a hypothesis that explores the complex relationship between standardized testing and creative teaching. My idea is that standardized testing hinders teachers' capacity to innovate. It reveals how it's hard to get curriculum alignment, and there's also time limitations that enable teachers to be able to practice these teaching practices. Um, Curriculum alignment is often catered towards being successful through testing goals and forces educators to concentrate on certain subjects and abilities, restricting their development of new teaching methods. Instructors may also be distracted by exam preparation and administration from enforcing these practices, and it limits their creativity and their ability to limit or to practice new teaching practices. So, um, the goal of the research is to strive to expose the aspects of limitations and argue for a balance between standardized testing and innovation. So looking at the literature review, looking at the impact on teaching methods, research from William found that high stakes testing might restrict our curriculum and instructional methods. So the research kind of showed that curriculum can be restrictive because of the instructional methods enforced upon them from administration and trying to hit these testing goals. And then as we look at the Herman and Golan's research, it also shows that it gives high pressure to educators and to get high test results, and might lead the instructors prioritizing test preparation over innovative education and developing critical thinking skills and things of that nature. Looking at the Morgan study about effect on creativity and innovation, um, the study kind of shows teachers as researchers, and having standardized aims. It shows that these aims might limit instructors' adaptation to students' different requirements, so it kind of eliminates the ability to cater your teaching to every student's needs. When looking at Moon studies, the study shows the conflict between test-focused curriculum and innovative education. Through these results, it reminds us that standardized testing frequently hinders instructors' autonomy and desire to try new teaching techniques. Looking at the quantitative data collected, so as we move forward with this research project, we have to keep in mind the quantitative data and how we gather this data. We must comprehend the quantitative element of surveys and questionnaires. So structured surveys and questionnaires, they'll easily capture quantitative data from all types of individuals. they're, they're, they ensure that there's going to be it's going to simplify data processing, and my questions that I use in these questions are going to be carefully constructed to illuminate the effects of standardized testing. Um, the participants will assess how much standardized testing influences their innovation, giving us a metric to go off of. Um, we're also interested in how the curricular alignment affects testing goals and how they teach the classroom and their teaching approaches. We're going to go over, there's going to be questions about time limitations by the participants and how it affects them having exam preparations and administrative experiences. We also want to assess instructor satisfaction between the balance of standardized testing and classroom creativity. Also, we want to go over the demographic questions like teaching experiences, grade level, and topic area. So we want to get a complete picture of educators um, on testing and creative teaching practices. As we switch to qualitative data, we want to have a semi-structured interview that goes over understanding us understanding educators' experiences. So through these interviews, we have deep dialogues and open-ended questions. So through this method, it will encourage people to share their thoughts and feelings and perspectives in their own words. These interviews are crucial to understand educators' experiences with testing and how they create obstacles through their and uh, and how they might hinder creative or how they might hinder individual teaching practices and see if they have creative solutions. These talks will provide significant data uh, beyond superficial knowledge that might be collected through quantitative data. The goal is to uncover opinions and human perception and coping methods uh, related to the questions are designed to capture instructors' experiences and then also explore their adjustments to taking the testing goals and balance standardized testing with educational creativity. In the data analysis of this, we want to examine the methods that will and how to bring purpose to these results. So I'll use descriptive statistics and correlations analysis for quantitative data. Um, we want to summarize and understand the surveys and replies using descriptive statistics. We want to calculate means and standard deviations to understand educators' views and standardized testing influences on innovation and individual teaching practices. In addition, we want to analyze for qualitative analysis. This strategy finds repeating themes that we find through the interviews, and it, it familiarizes ourselves with interview transcripts and classifying important ideas and discovering themes that are shared between the educators and their experiences and to build these connections. Um, Through this analysis, we'll reveal educators' complex narratives by looking into the problems and successes that they may have found. And through this investigation, we'll reveal how standardized testing affects educators creating practices in both quantitative and qualitative ways. Um, I emphasize the relevance of new teaching approaches in education because of how much our profession changes and the complexity of it. Conventional teaching methods fail to prepare ourselves for innovative teaching methods, and they don't improve critical thinking skills or problem solving skills, and doesn't allow for flexibility that all equip students to be more successful. The research fills a significant gap on how standardized testing affects creativity. Despite its prevalence, little is known about how standardized testing affects teachers' creativity, which builds a need for this study. Our study fills that void and adds complexity to the conversation. Um, As we reconcile assessment requirements and creative teaching, by understanding how standardized testing affects this, we can uh, influence curriculum um, and teacher preparation and um, all the above. This study provides educational stakeholders with a comprehensive view of standardized testing and its ramifications, ensuring a future where innovation and effective learning coexist. So the importance of this study, innovative teaching approaches really help engage students and foster critical thinking skills and provide them for lifetime learning abilities and things that they can use in the real world. Educators have to adapt to varied learning styles, technological approaches, everything that happens to so the adaptability is immeasurable. It's crucial to adapt our teaching methods to the changing educational system so students are ready for a society that's ever changing. Uh, by having active engagement, cooperative learning, and having these problem-solving skills is essential to student growth, being ready for school, but for the real world. Research will highlight the hazards of standardized testing and the needs for creativity. The study will show how standardized testing limits instructors' innovation, highlighting possible barriers to dynamic teaching practices. This is necessary for an engaging and dynamic learning environment. The research will also address a significant gap that remains between standardized testing and bridge gap by exploring how standardized testing affects educators' creativity, instructional choices, and innovation. So as we examine the dynamic relationship between standardized testing and instructional innovation, this educational environment needs to be studied how standardized testing affects instructors' creative teaching methods. The research will give us a further idea into this complex connection. We want to examine curriculum alignment, grade levels, subject areas, student demographics in our school district. It helps us obtain a deeper insight, more than superficial views. The research we want to look at our school district and our findings. They may not apply to other educational systems. So we want to find how it applies to us so we can find the most effective strategies to help teachers find the balance between standardized testing and creative learning. Instructional creativity can be different depending on local rules and how we train teachers. Also, student demographics and culture. So it's important to look at those limitations. We also want to look at teachers' viewpoints. They are subjective. So through the surveys and interviews, they might be impacted by their own opinions and beliefs and adding subjectivity. But with our best attempts to verify this data, we got to take into account biases and interpretations that may affect this. The surveys and interviews may reveal instructors' perspectives, but sometimes it might not capture the link between standardized testing and creativity, which is another limitation. Classroom observations and other ways may help explain this complicated dynamic. So while navigating these challenges, we can use observations and we can remain dedicated to uncovering insights, help shape educational practices and policies. So just to recap, through the research proposal, we've shown that standardized testing and creative teaching practices are deeply linked. We need to take a look at the dynamic of how engaging teaching techniques that can also fit the ever-changing educational environment, and then we also need to see standardized testing effects on